Hi there everyone, it's Tony Paladin, Managing Partner at LCP Global Sports Consulting Group, and today I'd like to chat a little bit about when does a sports sponsorship become a partnership, and when does a partnership become a relationship. So typically when a sports sponsorship is initiated, it's normally between the major stakeholders of a brand and the major stakeholders of a sports property. There's obviously a quote-unquote willing buyer, willing seller scenario, and effectively what happens is that the relationship is seen as somewhat transactional from the outset, and this all seems like a fairly good idea at the time. So anyway, the deal gets negotiated, the contract gets signed, and we now have a sponsorship in place. Two key stakeholders made a good deal, and this seems like it's gonna all just be a bed of roses moving forward. So this is where the real work starts, and for anybody of you who've ever taken your dog to the dog park, if you don't do a smooth introduction, often there's going to be a dog fight. And it's a very similar concept that goes into a sports sponsorship that needs to become a partnership ultimately. So typically what happens a lot of the time, if this is not actually paid attention to, the sponsorship is often thrust from the brand onto the sports property, and there is a whole bunch of black and white expectations that were drafted up in a contract, and more often than not the athletes and the team of the rights holder are often begrudgingly coerced into adhering to the terms of the contract. So this is not the right way to do it. So typically a more successful way of doing this is to actually get buy-in, to host an opening meeting. So when the contract gets signed, is actually organize just a basic get-together, get everybody from both sides to just have a really relaxed banquet or a round table discussion, and just chat about how things could possibly work going forward. This seems really obvious. I mean, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but more often than not this actually just doesn't happen, and we find ourselves 3 or 6 months down the line into a sponsorship, and that sponsorship is nowhere near a partnership. And this is often where a little trickle of resentment starts to creep in, and when those cracks start forming, often that sponsorship is going to stay a sponsorship. It's never really going to become a partnership. So now that I've got the obvious out the way, once you actually move the sponsorship across from the top stakeholders and trickle it down into the boots on the ground effectively of the people that are really going to be executing and activating the sponsorship, only then can it really start becoming a partnership. Those relationships normally move off email to WhatsApp, become a little bit more interpersonal, and this is where effective communication and pain point analysis starts to happen, where if there's vested interest on both sides, that's when that partnership really starts to form. This is a critical moment in sports sponsorships because it needs a lot of willingness on either side. As much as the brand has invested in the sports property also has basically, they've got a team around them. That team is invested, and the word investment doesn't only mean money. Investment means emotion. Investment means interest. Investment means having a shared goal. And if sports sponsorships are looked at it this way, then they do become partnerships a heck of a lot easier. And once it's in this phase and things start moving forward, ultimately that's when the partnership is going to start really becoming a relationship. The relationship is when it starts becoming seamless, and the brand and the sports property effectively become one. It's one team, and that's how it should be. If you've got one strong, solid team forming from your sponsor and your sponsee, from your brand to your rights holder, ultimately that's what you want. Because what are you going to get? You're going to get performance, you're going to get visibility, and you're going to have fun. Anyway, hope that is interesting. Take care. Cheers.